warm with temperatures in the low to mid-20s. Wednesday gets off to a fine start for many of us, but some very wet and windy weather is.
Don't miss out on your chance to win a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. It's extra cash that could really make a difference to your coming year. You could find yourself on that holiday you've always wanted to take, buy that treat that always seemed out of reach, or just send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. £30,000 could be yours, but time is ticking. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text CASH to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Michelle Dewberry and this is GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Well, we're joined this morning by the broadcaster Paula London, who thinks we shouldn't allow flexible working, and the founder of Real Mums Club, Chrissy Powell, who thinks that it is an absolutely brilliant idea. Let's start with you, Chrissy, because nobody is suggesting for a minute, are they, that being a parent isn't a job?
Parenting a job itself, but I think flexible working, where it really comes into play, is it provides a gateway for those parents that currently cannot work. It provides them a gateway into the working world. I think it's a fantastic idea, and I think every single employer should look into that as an option.
It's a fantastic idea, Chrissy, unless you're an employer. I would have thought you can't get people through sickness, through holiday, through when they want to work and when they don't want to work. Why even bother thinking about working? Why not just get paid for sitting at home doing nothing?
Because flexibility isn't just about term time only contracts. I myself, as a working mum, having a flexible employer, it means that I can still continue my work duties when children are ill. Recently, my daughter had a huge allergic reaction. It resulted into an A&E trip. If that wasn't a flexible employee, it would mean I'd have to have time off. Whether that's paid or unpaid, it can be detrimental to the employer and the employee. So by allowing me to work from home and offering more flexibility, employers offer different time scales. So it doesn't always mean that you have to work a 9 to 5 anymore. It might mean that you're best suited to work later on in the evening and pick up your work that way. I just think it's fantastic.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good evening from the GB newsroom at 11 o'clock. Your top story this hour. British tech tycoon Mike Lynch and his daughter are among 6 tourists missing after a luxury yacht sank in a tornado off the coast of Sicily. The British-registered 56-metre Bayesian had 22 people on board when it went down after being struck by the tornado. A body believed to be that of the vessel's cook has been found. Divers are now combing the waters as search efforts continue around the wreck, 50 metres underwater. So far, 15 people have been rescued, including the wife of Mike Lynch and a 1-year-old girl. The US has called on Hamas to agree to a bridging proposal for a ceasefire in Gaza after it gained the backing of Israel. Earlier, the US Secretary of State said the latest push for a deal was probably the best and possibly the last opportunity, urging both sides towards agreement. Speaking after a meeting with Israel's Prime Minister, Antony Blinken said Benjamin Netanyahu had agreed with the proposal, which would lead to a ceasefire and see the return of Israeli hostages. Back in the UK, Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has condemned what he called intolerable racist riots in Northern Ireland. He was speaking during a visit today where he was meeting frontline officers who dealt with the violence and members of ethnic minority communities who were targeted. At least 20 police officers were injured in violent disorder in early August in Northern Ireland. It's after protests were sparked across the UK by the fatal stabbing of 3 young girls.
The disorder is intolerable. It is incapable of justification. It's clearly racist. And it does not represent the modern, forward-looking Northern Ireland that I know that this place is.
And Chief Medical Officer Professor Chris Whitty has met with ministers to discuss the UK's preparedness to respond to Mpox. It's after the World Health Organization declared it a public health emergency. It comes as a new strain was found in Europe. The Clade 1b strain has been confirmed in Sweden after first being detected in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's believed to be the most dangerous version of the disease so far. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Sophia Wensler.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello and welcome to Headliners, your shuffle through the next day's papers with 3 comedians as guides, as in tour guides, not girl guides. Either it's a mental image you don't want me to shift as I introduce now Leo Kirst and Jonathan Cogan. I can see you in woggles.
Do you want to buy some cookies?
That made it dirtier, did it? I don't know why. I wouldn't trust them. What have you been up to? Were either of you in the girl guides?
No, I was a cub, but then I was dishonourably discharged.
Won't ask why. All right, we'll crack on. Let's take a look at Tuesday's front pages. We start with the Daily Telegraph. Tech tycoon feared dead in family super yacht tragedy is their front page. The Daily Mail. Queen said Trump was very rude. The person, not the act. The Times. Millionaires in yacht tragedy. The Eye says crime suspect left on streets under one-in, one-out prison crowding plan. The Guardian, British tech boss among missing after super yacht sinks off Sicily. And finally, the Daily Star. Oh, baubles. And those are your front pages. All right then, Leo, to the front page of the Telegraph, first of all.
So, tech tycoon feared dead in family super yacht tragedy. This is Mike Lynch, not to be confused with Mick Lynch, who was the boss of Autonomy. It was a tech company that was sold to HP for over $10 billion. And then there was a huge legal wrangle. He was held for 13 months under house arrest. He was a defendant in a US fraud trial, which he was cleared in, and he was looking forward to basically restarting his life as a free man and obviously as a billionaire. And then this tragedy. So his super yacht, the Bayesian, I think it's called, that's
named
some
after
sort of
the mathematical theorem.
Yeah, that's right. And it's hit by a tornado, real freak accident, and now he's missing. I believe his daughter's missing as well. They found some bodies. Some people have been saved. But yeah, an absolute tragedy. And interestingly, or coincidentally, or possibly suspiciously, his co-defendant in that US fraud trial, Stephen Chamberlain, died just a few days ago in a car crash. Was hit by a car, which that's bound to get conspiracy theorists wagging.
Yeah. I mean, it seems odd, doesn't it? Just, not to be too glib, but Bayes' theorem, I'm not a stats maths guy. I'm more of a more pure maths, of course I am. But it helps you work out the probability of a cause given its effect, which feels like we might need to be applying this to these two stories.
Yeah. So it's the Bayesian, it comes full circle there?
Yeah.
OK, that's a third thing happening now. This is obviously a tragedy. Hopefully they are, found. But it does seem to be odd timing, as you say. And yeah, it's just horrible. It's just a freak weather accident.
Yeah, tornado over water
Is that a thing?
These things. Well, it's definitely a thing, isn't it? Freak weather. It doesn't matter how big your yacht is, freak weather comes your way. Although, there are some parts of this story as well which are fascinating and better than the miserable news that we hear. The woman who saved her 1-year-old child.
Yeah.
She held the child above water, and during one bit I was reading the story, accidentally let go of the child. Must imagine what that feeling must be like. I managed to get her again and held her until they were rescued.
Yeah. Wow.
Fantastic.
I hope you get a swimming badge for that. That's,
Indeed.
Good on her.
Jonathan, next to the I newspaper.
Yes, so crime suspects left on streets under one in, one out prison crowding plan. Like a very high-end club in Mayfair that I will never be allowed into. So suspects who would have been arrested or remanded will stay in the streets. Solicitors have warned after more than 100 prisoners who should have been in court stayed in police cells. So at least 136 prisoners who were held in police stations yesterday, according to the Ministry of Justice. Basically, after the government introduced Operation Early Dawn, they've no choice but to sort of have these temporary measures because there's no room at the inn for these prisoners. So they're sort of being held in limbo as opposed to a proper prison cell.
And it wasn't, I mean, it was a few months ago that Operation Early Dawn was enacted and we had the stories about police being told to don't arrest anyone that you don't have to arrest.
Yeah.
I kind of think that's the only people you should be arresting anyway. If you're arresting someone, it's a now issue, isn't it? Let's get that sorted. But I guess we're heading back towards that.
Yeah, and also it's worrying that just at a time when we seem to have a lack of prison space for really dangerous criminals. I mean, Keir Starmer, or not Keir Starmer directly, but under Keir Starmer, they early released a man who was involved in the machete killing of a 14-year-old boy to make space for people who shared memes on Facebook. And it doesn't seem that we're locking up the right people. I'm much more worried about people killing other people with a machete than I am about memes on Facebook. Memes on Facebook aren't a concern of mine. And just as our jails are absolutely rampacked full, Labour are bringing through more laws to be able to lock up more people. So they're going to make misogyny a crime, even though they themselves can't actually define what a woman is. So how they're going to be able to define what misogyny is beyond me.
Even without an accurate definition, they will still manage to lock you up.
They'll find a way.
Everyone will give them that leeway when they're like, Leo, yeah, definitely, it could be set down for a short stretch on that.
Well, this is the thing with when you've got authoritarian regimes like the Labour Party and the Chinese Communist Party. I'm not saying the Chinese Communist Party are anywhere near as bad as Labour, but when you've got these kind of regimes, they bring through really broad, really vague laws that everybody fears that they might have transgressed against. And then the government, the regime can just pick and choose who to send to prison for breaking.
Find me the man, I'll find you the crime.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we should say Operation Early Dawn, in theory, is not meant to release any violent criminals, those found guilty of sexual assaults or domestic abuse. But
just machete. People involved in machete killings. That's, they find a way of not making that violent. But a Facebook meme is, oh my God, it's the most violent thing. Oh, he's shared a picture on Facebook.
Right, we can move Leo to let's have a look, a Royal World exclusive on the front page of the Daily Mail. This is the best story we've seen in ages.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's an exclusive, but it's not that new.
Yeah. It's surprising.
It didn't happen yesterday, yeah. So this is, the Queen said Trump was very rude. So the astonishing claims, not that astonishing, it's kind of what you'd expect.
It's kind of on brand, isn't it?
Yeah, for both of them. It's revealed in a new book which also reports that the late monarch believed the president must have an arrangement with his wife Melania. I don't know if this is because Donald Trump tried it on with her or what happened, but yeah, apparently, she saw the comings and goings from Donald Trump's bedroom and thought he must have some sort of arrangement.
Saw the Moscow tapes.
Yeah, he's putting it round a bit.
Was he a swinger? Was that the implication?
I think he is a swinger.
Okay. Was the Queen a swinger?
I don't think so.
I'm not sure about that, Leo. No. But yeah, I mean, of course he's going to seem brash. First of all, he's American, and welcome to all American friends and viewers. But that's his whole thing. He's a big character. The Queen is a sort of civil, beloved, gentle old dear, and yeah.
Or was. Hate to break it to you.
What?
Yeah. But, I mean, the idea of them having an arrangement, I don't think it's... I read this, and I don't think it's swinging arrangement. I think it's that pretend to stay married. Is this not what it's about? Pretend to stay married, try to not slap my hand away from you too many times in public, and you get all the money.
Yeah, I think, if you marry Donald Trump, you sort of know what you're in for, You're not marrying a vicar. Or can vicars even get married? I don't even know. But we saw another footage of Donald Trump. Remember he barged other world leaders out of the way, literally shoved them out of the way so he could walk at the front. This isn't a man with niceties, but he's the man we need in 2024 to clean up the world.
I hope this biography is just her slagging off everyone she's ever met. It's just a series of burns.
Warts and all.
Yeah.
We all write those books in our own personal time. You never think they're going to get released, do they? No.
Right,
Jonathan, we can finally go to the front page of the Daily Star to see if there's any news there.
It's too soon. Xmas trees going up and shops selling festive chocks. In August is the headline, oh baubles. So essentially shops have started selling their Christmas wares and I think it's too early. It's at least 9 months away, my brief calculation has told me. It's too early. Once you see the festive chocolates up, it gets you in that mode. We're still celebrating summer.
Yeah, and also 9 months would have been the moment of Immaculate Conception. So maybe it's right to start it now. It's Christmas we're talking about, the baby Jesus.
Yes,
that's a
very
point.
true.
But if you're selling chocolates, they're going to melt in the summer heat. So just wait till it gets a bit cooler.
Who's buying it now, or is it people just pretending, oh, I'm just doing my Christmas shopping, and they're just gorging in the back by themselves?
Oh, whatever you buy now, there's no way they'll make it. In fact, there's some, was it last year, there was some Christmassy stuff in Marks & Spencer where the use-by date was before Christmas.
Oh.
So you know you were going, but it is true. There's no way that food will stay in my house without me late night just going, oh.
Do you think that's the plan? It's like a nefarious ploy, like, oh, you buy this now, and then they know what's going to happen, you're going to eat it, and you'll come back for seconds.
Yeah.
But also, very suspiciously, I think these shops just do it so that we all go, well, it's too early, it's disgraceful. Let's get some front-page free advertising for whatever shop this is.
Yeah, but we don't know which shop it is.
Yeah, what is it called?
No,
it's very hard to
they
tell.
get really upset.
Oh, is that
now.
Sainsbury's? Oh, no, that's not a Sainsbury's. That looks like an Asda. I'm judging that from the prices.
I've never stepped foot in one.
I recognise the prices on the side. You've never stepped in an Asda?
No, not allowed.
You are so posh. What's your supermarket of choice?
Well, you wouldn't know it. It's in the lounge at Heathrow.
Well, that's the front pages done. In the next section, office parties banned, migration saves lives, and guess who's the most popular politician? No, you're wrong. Find out who it is next.
Gaddafi?
Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday from 8 p.m.
Well, I'm joined now by royal biographer and former royal photographer, Ian Lloyd. Ian.
Hello, Jacob.
Thank you
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for joining me. This is going to be great, isn't it? The opportunity to go around and see where the King comes onto the balcony from. Really interesting insight to how Buckingham Palace works.
It's exciting. I went yesterday, there was a press preview, and the thing that struck me first of all is that if you're the King and or the late Queen and you're on the balcony, you can't see the Mall. I mean, we all see people coming down from the top, you know, thousands of people crowding in towards Buckingham Palace. They can't see it because of this great monument to Queen Victoria called the Queen Victoria Memorial, or they call it the wedding cake, but it blocks the view. So apparently the King has a TV in there, and the late Queen did as well. So what they do is they when they're waiting to come on, they're watching the TV to see how the crowd's getting nearer the palace. And the other thing that struck me is when we were on it looking down, is you can actually see individual faces in the crowd out there, because we looked out, you know. So they do get a good view of what's happening directly underneath the palace, you know.
So they can see individuals. So if there's a friendly face in the crowd, they can see that person and possibly even wave. But they can't see that enormous mass of people you get at the big events that goes back towards Admiralty Arch.
The other thing I learned is there's a great historical link, because the person that put the east wing on the palace, because it was originally 3 sides, and Queen Victoria had, of course, 9 children, so they had to build a 4th side for all the nurseries and things. Edward Blord was the architect, but the master builder was Thomas Cubitt.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Stephen Allen, still joined by Leo Kearse and Jonathan Cogan. Leo, the Daily Mail, people in a new survey are saying that they don't like Keir Starmer, which I think can get you arrested these days.
Yeah. So more than half of British people believe the UK is heading in the wrong direction under Labour as Sir Keir Starmer's favourability ratings fall to 0. This poll reveals it by Ipsos, so you can trust it. It's one of the established companies. So they found that 38% of people have a favourable opinion of Keir and 38% have an unfavourable one. So I guess a lot of people like that he calls half of Britain racist and far-right bigots and thugs, and the other half don't like it because they're the people getting called that. And the survey also revealed that 22% of British people think that Britain is heading in the... Just 22% think Britain is heading in the right direction, while 52% think Britain is going in the wrong direction. So this is cataclysmic for a party so early on in its stewardship of the nation. They've got 5 years to go. You're supposed to get these terrible ratings near the end when you get voted out, like Rishi was.
Well, what's interesting, his approval rating is 0, but he's also the most popular politician asked about in the poll, so it's not really saying much for our cream of the crop politicians. If your rating's already 0, surely now's the time to get in as much unpopular policy in as possible, because we can't go... Can it go lower? Can it go to minus?
Well, everyone else is minus.
Yeah. Oh, everyone else is minus.
All the other politicians, like Rishi's minus 50-something. Oh, goodness. Nigel Farage was minus 20-something in the last one.
You can't go past minus 100.
What happens if you do?
Well, there's only 100.
Oh, God, I shouldn't be doing this show.
And also the survey, when they're asking about going in the wrong direction, the way it's written up looks terrible, but the number of people who think we were heading in the wrong direction at the end of the Tory government was actually higher. Now, I know what you mean, that was the end, that was the dying embers of their administration. But politicians think that the start of being in charge is when you should do the
big things.
The unpopular stuff. But this is quite unpopular. I think you stretched it.
They're not doing unpopular stuff the same way as, like, Margaret Thatcher did unpopular stuff, but you could see she was remaking Britain to make it prosperous and dynamic, whereas Labour are remaking Britain to make it stultifying and authoritarian. All the stuff they've been talking about bringing through, facial recognition, policing the internet, all these authoritarian rules, laws against misogyny, laws against harmful posts on the internet, they're not the sort of thing that's going to stimulate the economy. They're the sort of thing that's going to stimulate the hiring of a lot of civil servants to rule over us and police our lives. It's going to create this sort of Kafkaesque state, basically recreating the Soviet Union, but worse because it's in Britain.
And they got that phrase online, was it lawful but hateful or something?
Harmful but not illegal?
Harmful but legal, which is the kind of thing where Philip Schofield was whistling and pointing at the TV like that. DiCaprio.
Hey, it's me, yeah.
That's exactly the thing we're talking about. Are you worried, Jonathan, about
I'm a little bit worried. I am not liking the sign of where things are going. It seems to be a bit leading down an authoritarian path. And as a natural anti-authoritarian guy with a slant against that kind of thing, I think he should just relax. Why can't we all get along?
He should just chill.
Just chill.
Well, let's
Come on, Keir.
Keir Starmer needs to trust the British people more. At the moment, he's saying, oh, none of you can be trusted with anything. You're all evil. We need to monitor your Facebook. You're not allowed to do anything. You're not allowed to, we're not going to let you go outside or speak to each other or anything like that. And, you think I'm joking. That's exactly what he was saying during lockdown. And he needs to trust the British people. It's a great country. We've always been pretty good at self-governing. That's why we haven't, needed a constitution or anything like that. And I think any leader who comes in and starts throwing their weight around and treating us like he's Xi Jinping...
Needs to be more laissez-faire.
Needs to be more laissez-faire, more of a Boris.
Do you think there's an underlying ideology there that he has? Do you think he is, in his heart, very authoritarian, or he's just sort of reacting to the riots and stuff like that?
The UK has always had, half of the UK is dynamic and entrepreneurial, and the other half is just the most horrific, ugly, fat, leftist, socialist pigs that just want to, stifle everything.
I would go back to Jonathan for balance, but I don't think I'm going to say anything to balance that up, so we'll just move on.
No, some righties are fat.
Yeah. Jonathan, the Daily Mail with a very positive story of immigration. Are we sure this is the Daily Mail?
Well, they're allowed one pro-immigration story per year, and this is it. OK. Hero security guard who foiled Leicester Square knife attacker reveals he is a migrant who came to UK to study, as he declares, "This is our country. We came here as a choice, so we are protectors, not attackers." So young Abdullah, who is 29, who was guarding a nearby tea shop, he actually managed to very bravely and heroically disarm the 32-year-old suspect who allegedly had this is obviously tragic and disgraceful, had the terrified schoolgirl in a headlock and unfortunately stabbed her 8 times. And this guy, stepped up and I want to say took him down and disarmed him. And absolute legend. I'd like to think that's how most men, myself included, would act. You never know until you're in that moment. But good on him. But I guess they're pushing here. The interesting fact is that, he's a migrant. We saw some migrant-related stabbings, or well, not necessarily migrant-related, but related. Or, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't read the news. But basically, it's So they're saying, he's a good migrant, which also kind of seems a bit like, he's a good Samaritan. What's your point? Can't we just assume everyone's good? I don't know, Leo.
Well, we can't assume everybody's good.
Not the stabbing guy.
There's another guy stabbing a girl with a knife, so that's not good.
No, true.
I think this guy's brilliant, and can't we vet migrants more thoroughly instead of just letting anyone who wants to come to the UK on anything that floats? Can't we vet the migrants so we make sure that
in Captain America
they're British?
They put a grenade there. They see if he jumps on it. That could be the test.
No, that's a stupid point. But why can't we vet? Why can't we vet people? When you go to the airport, you got to go through scanners. You got to take your shoes off. Like little old ladies have got to take their shoes off. They're putting their hips out, trying to take their shoes off, trying to take their belt off so their trousers fall down. We don't do that to the 22-year-olds coming from God knows where that are jumping off onto the sand. We just assume, like Labour and all the people on the left, just hold their fingers and say, I'm sure when they step onto that sand, they'll be magically imbued with British values of fairness and tolerance. And as we've seen, that's...
Well, I said that's not where vetting would take place in the airport or on the sand. Vetting would be the immigration policy, whether it be the asylum policy or migration.
We can do it on the sand.
Yeah, but it would be more effective to actually have it written into the actual policy that we have.
Yeah, but it needs to happen at some point because, at the moment, this is being held up as an example of, multiculturalism is a great success because this security guard is an immigrant and he stopped another immigrant from stabbing a girl. And it's like, man, that's not a 100% success story.
Shouldn't the lesson here be you can't find one example of someone and presume everyone of that category is exactly the same?
Yeah.
It's like saying a Capricorn was arrested doing something, therefore we should not trust Capricorn.
But what you could look at is statistics, and you could look at, proportionality and, demographics that are more likely, and have shown patterns of I don't know, for example, committing large-scale terrorist atrocities, things like that, and maybe have some sort of vetting policy that reduces the chances of things like that happening, because I think we can all agree that, mass killings aren't that great.
Yeah, and was anyone else shocked by the phrase guarding a tea shop? Do we have to guard tea these days?
That is Keir Starmer's Britain.
From the Americans.
Leo, to the Telegraph, to Spain, where sadly there's news that shows immigration tensions aren't just happening in the UK.
Yeah, so Spain's far right stokes anti-immigration tensions after an 11-year-old child is murdered. That's the headline in the Telegraph. Not the Guardian, but in the Telegraph. So a child has been stabbed to death, but the real problem, according to the Telegraph, is far right bigots who are saying they don't like children being stabbed. I really don't understand this. So they're saying that the murder is being connected to, or this far-right Phalange party is connecting this murder to high levels of immigration, and they don't know yet if he's foreign or if he's a Spanish guy who did it for other reasons. But this is a horrific murder. So the victim's known as Mateo. He was playing football at the sports complex near Toledo when a masked man burst onto the field and stabbed him multiple times. The killer escaped, and his whereabouts remained unknown on Monday. And while, I'm going to say far right, I'm not sure how far right they are, while they're being criticised for linking the immigration issue and the stabbing, there's a precedent for stabbings like this. We've seen lots of stabbings across Europe, people targeting children, people targeting toddlers on behalf of Islamic State, and they're immigrants, they've come in from outside. So I can understand, with that precedent. If this guy was motivated by Andrew Tate or some, the left, the Guardian, Labour politicians would have no problem saying, this is Andrew Tate, he motivated this, we need to stop it. So, I don't know, I think if you want to stop the far right, secure the borders and make children safer. Because at the moment, people are getting called far right if they don't like children being killed.
Jonathan, do you think there's a chance that this story is so big in our news because of the similarities of what we saw here?
Yeah, I think there are direct parallels, and I think we're going to, unfortunately, continue to see things like this happening, and I think the reactions are just going to get more and more heated, and it's essentially a bit of a powder keg. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what the solution is, but it's just, yeah, it seems to be almost the opposite of the previous story, where a stabbing was
So, Jonathan, we can go to the I paper. Just when it looked like Kamala Harris could do well in the US elections, the left gets involved.
Well, yeah, the last thing the Dems need is the left voting for them. So Kamala Harris faces first major hurdle as thousands gather for Gaza protests. So a coalition of grassroots organisations gathered and then marched towards the United Centre, where Harris is to formally accept the role of the Democratic Party's nominee for president. So this has been a group of protesters who've got together to come and protest Kamala, essentially, where they are essentially asking her or campaigning for Kamala Harris to break with Biden's largely supporting policies of Israel. But they didn't just protest that, they also protested they held their first march on Sunday calling for not just a ceasefire, but also in support of abortion access and LGBTQ rights. So they got it all in there. There's what's the Omnicause? Is that the thing?
Omnicause, yeah.
Omnicause,
even when it's completely contradictory.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess you've got... Yeah, I mean... the old thing, the Queers for Palestine, when, they wouldn't be accepted in there. Yeah, so I guess it's just, I mean, you're always going to get people protesting at, the extremes of every political party, and this seems to be Kamala's first challenge.
It's going to be helping Trump?
Yeah, it probably will help Trump, because this is the sort of base of the Democrat Party. This is the highly motivated young people, and of course they're raving lunatics. They're even more communist and psychotic than the Democrat Party itself. And Kamala Harris is openly communist, by the way. I mean, it's going to be terrifying. If you thought Joe Biden overspent with public money and was slightly authoritarian, that's absolutely nothing compared to what Kamala Harris is going to be. But yeah, they hate the Democrats because they support Israel and they support a Jewish state. Whereas most young people on the left want to erase Israel from the map. They openly chant. They want to clear it from the river to the sea. So yeah, obviously they're going to hate anybody who supports Israel. But what's interesting is the Democrat convention. You can get a vasectomy if you're attending.
Really?
This is how. I mean,
it's a self-correcting problem.
But you can. I don't know. I just find that like Democrat men already have a sort of reputation for being a bit like low testosterone, but to actually have your balls cut off at the Democrat convention, I mean, that's
simply disconnected. They're not cut off. They're just
if you cut off my Wi-Fi, I got no Wi-Fi, so I think it's the same.
You pull the plug out.
I think it's the same with testicles.
Well, that's another section polished off. In the next one, banning books, banning prayer, and you can't even spit at Tesco workers these days. We'll get the details next.
Hello, very good evening to you. Here's your latest GB News weather update brought to you by the Met Office. Plenty of showers as we go through tomorrow and some blustery, gusty winds too. But before then, there's a lot of cloud, there's a lot of rain because of a frontal system that's already made its way in from the west. And as we go through the next 12 hours or so, it's going to continue to push east and southeastwards, bringing quite a wet story across many parts of England and Wales for a time, with that rain feeding into the southeast as we go through the early hours of tomorrow morning. Behind it, there will be some clear skies around, but also some showery bursts, especially across parts of Scotland. Temperatures not dropping a huge amount. In fact, in the southeast, it is going to be another warm night, some places only falling to lows of around 17 or 18 Celsius. As we go through tomorrow morning, though, there will be some hefty rain across the far east of Scotland and the Northern Isles. Also, plenty of showers feeding into western parts of Scotland. In between, something a little bit drier and brighter for some, but also more showers across Northern Ireland, some parts of northern, northwestern England, and in fact, down the western side of England and Wales, there'll be some showers feeding in. Something a little bit drier and sunnier for more central eastern parts of England, although in the far southeast, that front will be lingering here for a time, so a grey, damp start to the day for some before that front clears away by the afternoon. Behind it, for many, it is going to be a showery day, and some of those showers will be heavy, and there are some gusty, blustery winds to watch out for too, especially in the northwest, making it feel a little bit cooler for some, but there will also be some sunny spells, and in the east-southeast, in the sunshine, feeling quite warm with temperatures in the low to mid-20s. Wednesday gets off to a fine start for many of us, but some very wet and windy weather is going to feed in from the northwest as we go through the day, particularly affecting Scotland and perhaps Northern Ireland too. Now, the rain is going to be quite heavy and will last as we go into Thursday, and it's all due to the remnants of what was Hurricane Ernesto, the other side of the Atlantic. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
weekdays on GB News. Wake up to breakfast every day from 6 a.m, followed by Britain's newsroom at 9:30. At noon, it's Good Afternoon Britain, followed by Martin Daubney from 3 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled. Lovely.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. Jonathan, the Telegraph. Tourism to Britain is suffering. Why wouldn't people want to see our majestic, poo-filled rivers and the natives doing their traditional evening riot?
We are a noble people indeed. Why the rest of the world doesn't want to visit Britain. So according to a new report by the Centre for Economic and Business Research, aka Money Nerds, Britain attracted 38 million tourists in 2023, down from a 2019 peak of 40.9 million. So it's gone down by a few mil, and apparently that's because Britain is being outperformed by its competitors. So Europe is doing a lot better. I mean, who's coming to England on holiday? England's for living, Europe is for holidaying. That's obvious. That's just how it works. I mean, England's expensive. It's one of the least competitive countries for money, how far your money goes, from competitiveness, price for travel. You know, there's no free tax anymore. There used to be, if you buy something, if you were here on holiday, you get the tax exemption. And there's just raw sewage in the rivers, so all those famous Thames swimming.
Stay out of the rivers. I never go in the rivers.
I hardly ever go in the river.
I'm worried about poo in the rivers. Like Fergal Sharkey, is he wading about in the rivers every day? Like, why do you care? You're not dolphin. Just don't go in the river.
The dolphins swim in rivers?
Probably, yeah. The Yangtze River dolphin does.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
I can also tell you which river it swims in.
Which river?
The Yangtze.
Oh. Is it not still annoying to be beaten at tourism by a country like Spain that has protests that spray water pistols at tourists and say, tourists go home? And people would still rather go there
It's
than
better
here.
for holiday, isn't it? It's nicer, it's sunnier, better food.
Yeah, and also that's like...
Don't live there.
That's like a hot woman being mean to you. Like, you still want...
That's the only way I
to
can
go there.
finish, yeah.
You know? Yeah. But Britain's got some good stuff. We've got free museums, and they're good museums. And like, if you don't want to go to one of these other countries, don't worry. We've got their stuff in our museum.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you can't make it to the museum, we will sell it to you on eBay.
Yeah, and it's also really expensive to get in. I mean, a lot of this article, actually, even though it's in the Telegraph, points out Brexit played a big role in changing all the thing. But then the peak was in 2019.
Yeah.
Feels like a lot of the Brexit restrictions would have been in by then.
Are they in then? Oh, yeah, I guess so. It's so long ago. It's a different world. But look, just go to France like a normal person on holiday.
Yeah.
Josh Howie's in France. Don't rob his house.
Oh yeah, they said one of the reasons they said is the axing of HS2. Yeah, because I should imagine a lot of people in Paraguay being like, "Oh, I can't go to Britain. They axed HS2." You know what I mean?
It'll take 10 minutes longer to get to Manchester.
Yeah.
Leo, the Daily Mail, should silent prayer be banned? What? Silent anything is a miracle. Normally people just go on about their thoughts.
I mean, this is an incredible story. So a Christian charity volunteer has been awarded a £13,000 payout, an apology from police after being arrested for praying silently outside an abortion clinic. So not, waving a placard, not openly praying, just silently praying in her own head. So she was literally arrested for a thought crime, not even a speech crime. No, this isn't even a matter of free speech. This is a matter of free thought. And I guess she could have lied to the police and said, "No, I wasn't praying at all." But she's a
Was she praying for cash?
She was
no, she
was praying. She was doing prayers for the women going into the abortion clinic. And this comes just days after reports the government is considering formally criminalising silent prayer outside abortion clinics. With new legislation set to come into force. Yay!
That's
so
mental.
our prisons are too full. So we're going to put people who pray silently in their head in prison as well. I mean, this is absolutely nuts. Would you rather live next door to a machete killer who's going to be let out of prison, or somebody who prays silently inside their head?
long as she keeps it down.
You know what I mean? Like,
all right, just to play devil's advocate, could you say that? I mean, I think it's ridiculous, but could you say that her standing there and praying was a performative act, which is essentially protesting? She's just being quiet. So it's like her presence there is like, they know what I'm doing, but I mean, it's ridiculous.
They'd have to go to the window and see her, and they'd then have to be offended or upset that somebody is standing silently. And I just can't see that. You know, I think you've got to have a reasonable amount of give and take. And, you know, I believe that women should have access to abortions. But, you know, I can also understand that a lot of people find it, you know, absolutely horrific and traumatic. That, you know, these fetuses are being terminated. So I think people should have the right to silently stand on a pavement, you know, somewhere near an abortion clinic. I don't think they should have the right to, you know, protest or jeer or anything like that. But this woman wasn't doing that. She was standing there silently. This is really crossing a Rubicon when it comes to thought.
But the good thing is she didn't. She was let off. There was no conviction.
She got those prayers worked.
She got 13 grand. So, but that's taxpayers' money. I don't want my money going into like silent prayer people.
Silent prayer.
The biggest con.
In the Independent, some school libraries are banning LGBT plus books. But on the plus side, no one goes to a library these days. So.
That's very true. So, investigation reveals that UK schools are banning LGBT plus books after complaints from parents. So, a 6-month investigation by Index on Censorship has revealed that 53% of UK school librarians polled have been asked to remove literature, and in more than half of those cases, books were taken off the shelves. So this snapshot survey has shown that it's only 24 librarians had experienced this kind of censorship, with one saying they'd been told to remove every book with an LGBT theme after a single complaint from one parent about one book. So they've given a few of the specific titles that have been removed. So one is called This Book is Gay by Juno Dawson. One is called Julian is a Mermaid, which is a picture book about gender non-conforming boy. One is called How to Nosh Someone Off by Leo Kirst. Now, all these books are just being removed, which...
You got a Hawk tour.
You got a Hawk tour in it. Spin on that.
The mental image has just ruined me forever.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm asexual.
So is this more censorship? Is this creeping censorship? Or are some of these books being proven to be inappropriate for young children? Well, I don't actually know what the age of these kids are.
It includes comprehensive school, like secondary schools. In the
well, in which case, that does seem heavy-handed to me. That does seem very heavy-handed.
Is it heavy-handed, even if you find the book where you find something in that book you don't like, to ban all books that have any reference in the title? You're literally judging books by their covers, because that one book is transgressed, the rest should all go.
That's why books have got covers, so you can judge them. They've got little titles, tells you like a little bit about what is it, got a picture telling you what's inside. Oh, the 5 go camping in Devon. Like, I know what it's about. But the real problem here is that LGBT activists tried to sneak basically pornographic material into the school libraries. So they overchanced their arm. You know, they're trying to make paedophilia illegal. Basically, they're trying to recategorize paedophiles as minor attracted people. This is all part of the plot to sort of get pornographic material in front of children and make that normalised, and then the next step. So, they shouldn't have done that. Don't do that. And then...
That's also very much the accusations of what happens in America, whereas we're not seeing any of those books being talked about in this story.
Yeah, no, I think some of those books... I don't know. I don't really care. I think, ban these books as well. I'm up for free speech, but not when it's something that...
You don't like it.
No, when I've read the headline and formed an opinion.
Leo, the Telegraph claims that the transgender Paralympian has an advantage in running and maybe one in parking.
So a rival of the Paralympics' first openly transgender runner, Valentina Petrillo, has spoken out over her opponent's potential advantage. So Katrine Mueller-Rottgart sounded the alarm over the participation of Valentina Petrillo, who she will face in races for the visually impaired at Paris 2024. She was groping around in the changing rooms and found... No, she wasn't. But this is a 50-year-old. The transgender athlete is a 50-year-old who transitioned in 2019 after undergoing hormone therapy, having previously won 11 national titles in 3 years while competing as a man. So obviously, can beat men. Probably going to be able to beat women as well, like once he's stuck a dress on. And the funny thing is, so speaking after competing against Petrillo in a recent race, the German who's now complaining about having a trans athlete said, "For me, Petrillo's gender wasn't a focus because it didn't affect me. I didn't even notice because I couldn't see her." Because this is.
But it did affect her, right? Because they were racing.
Well, yeah, because they were racing, but she couldn't see because
the event's
visually
not happened
impaired.
yet, has it? We don't know the result. the actual race.
Look, I can't be expected to read every story all the way to the bottom. It's 4 pages long.
Yeah, but I think, you can identify as a woman. This is something that keeps popping up across athletics and across, the Olympics. They're still having issues around it. You've got the right to, transition and live your life as a woman, but you don't have the right to be a female athlete.
Yeah. I mean, many athletics bodies have banned it. It's just the IOC and the IPC, whatever they're called, have decided to be all about inclusivity in these ones.
Fair enough. Well, in a statement last week, Trillo said, "I still find it hard to believe it, and I'm keeping my feet on the ground because my chance to participate in Tokyo was missed by a whisker," which is obviously the beard that the...
Jonathan, the Telegraph, somehow Tesco are the natural predator to the Hawk Tour girl. Second mention
2
tonight.
mentions. Oh, God. Now I'm hard. Tesco staff given DNA spit kits to trace abusive customers. This is hilarious. So Tesco has armed its delivery drivers with DNA testing kits to help police trace abusive customers who basically Hawk Tour onto delivery drivers. So these staff have been assaulted, maybe because they didn't give a good enough service. That's why we do it, just be on time when you don't get spat on. So, yeah, these so-called spit kits are to collect samples. So if you get literally spat on, you collect the sample, you put it in a cup, and then they use the police to identify the DNA. So if you've been on, 23andMe on Ancestry.com, you're on grid.
But also, this story, these are home deliveries where they're using a DNA kit to identify the customers. Check the thing. It tells you where you've just...
Oh, my God, I didn't even think of that. That's exactly right.
And also some of the reasons, some drivers said they'd been spat at in altercations when asking customers to provide ID for alcohol. It's like they bought it online. So surely there's some sort of verification process there. You can't shop at Tesco online if you're 7 years old.
Yeah, I don't know how it works. Maybe you, if you have your own debit card, if you have PayPal, maybe you could buy it. So maybe they do need to ID, but I don't know. Just don't spit on Tesco's.
Yeah, I think I'm on
Save
board.
it for Lidl.
Often we don't agree, but I think I'll go with you on that one. All right, coming up in the final section, we're going to be taking a look at playing computer games, dating apps, and AI. Ooh, we've gone all techie. We'll see you shortly.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Losing someone, saying goodbye, never easy, but there is a way, maybe, to make it slightly more manageable, depending how you think.
Yeah, we're going to speak now to the comedian and British icon, frankly, Paul Chuckle. He thinks it's time to put the fun into funeral. This is after, sadly, he lost his brother, Barry, and Paul now wants to highlight what he perceives to be changing attitudes to the way we hold funerals.
Well, Paul, a very good morning to you. First of all, condolences about Barry. We all knew him, and obviously you still miss him.
Yes, good morning to you too. Obviously, it was 6 years ago yesterday that he passed away. It's gone very quick, but in Barry's funeral case, it was a thing of celebrating his life, really. All his friends were there, people we've worked with over the years, and we just talked all afternoon and evening about his life. It's more of a celebration.
New research from Co-op Funeral Care says that people are more coming round to this way of thinking, that in the way they dress and what they sing and taking selfies at funerals, all sorts of things. And by and large, bearing in mind how you said goodbye to Barry, which I believe was at Rotherham Football Club, was it?
Exactly, yeah. It's always a very sad day when you lose someone. But as a report from Co-op Funeral Care says, a funeral doesn't have to be a sad day, which it wasn't there. See, Barry and myself always been big Rotherham United fans, and the thing was to have his funeral, really, most of his funeral on the day at New York Stadium.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates.
You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained. I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday,
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the final section of headliners, Leo, the Daily Mail. The new Snow White star has managed to make the dwarves not the most offensive part of the film.
So Snow White star Rachel Zegler derails the remake's ad campaign with another woke outburst after branding experts warn her antics may trigger a boycott. So she's triggered a storm of controversy. Previously, she said that Snow White, she hated the original Snow White film, which is a good thing to say when you're cast as Snow White in the remake. She said the storyline was weird, referred to the prince character as a stalker, and said that the remake would ensure any fairy tale smooching was consensual. Which you can't really do with the storyline where she's asleep for 100 years or something like that.
Unless you fall asleep with a sign saying, I'm up for it. Whatever you do, I'm down to.
If you're a prince, if your income is above a certain level...
Are you 6 foot?
But now she's got another controversy. And this is the release of this film. It was delayed for a year to try and wait for the controversy to go down.
It's been a PR nightmare for them.
They've remade it and stuff, and I think the dwarves are all like 6 foot tall now and stuff. But she's
they can't say hi-ho, because that's offensive.
That's her. So she's waded into the Israel-Palestine conflict, which is a great thing. I mean, you're a 23-year-old playing Snow White. You're not exactly, you know what I mean?
I wondered what she had to say on it. I was thinking, who's going to...
Well, you know why this is? Because somebody tweeted at her that Gal Gadot was hotter. So now, obviously, Gal Gadot's Israeli. And she's now taking on the role of the evil queen who's jealous of the fairest of them all.
Well, she said, so Rachel Zegler has tweeted, always remember, she tweeted a picture, she tweeted the trailer of the film and said, always remember, free Palestine, which basically means she wants Israel wiped off the map, I assume. That seems to be what people mean when they say that. And it says here, the teaser trailer shows Zegler as the titular princess, but I've never seen her as that titular.
Jonathan, we shall move on to the Telegraph. Does playing violent computer games harm you? I don't know. Growing up, I played a lot of Tetris, and now I'm a terrible builder.
I played a lot of Mario, and I have stamped on a few turtles, but that's something else. Playing video games is good for you as long as you stick to a 3-hour limit. So a study of almost 100,000 people in Japan, the home of video games, has shown that playing these video games on a console can improve mental health and life satisfaction while also relieving stress. This is something I've been arguing with my parents since I was about 4 years old. It's good for you. Let me do it. So a study at Nihon University in Tokyo revealed that playing on a console rather than a PC, which is for giga nerds, is basically good for you. But if you play for too long, it ruins your whole life. And you should just play for no more than 3 hours a day. And also that Nintendo Switch is the most fun console, which I suspected. PS5 is good for lads. Nintendo Switch is good for the chicks and the kids.
Do anything for 3 hours and it's probably bad for you.
Yeah, it sounds like a long time. You could watch Lawrence of Arabia or something. Not that I'm suggesting you should, but games are rubbish now. Like, I remember when I was a kid, games were fun. Like, all it was like the game was a game. You played the game. Now, like, you try and play a game, you got to like read a manual before you do it. There's so much complicated stuff. Like, you got to craft weapons and ammo and
becomes a job.
You got a backpack out of this spreadsheet of all this stuff in your inventory, and you've got to like progress your character. It's like, I just want to shoot stuff in the face. You don't just let me shoot stuff in the face. Is that too much to ask?
Like, Mortal Kombat used to be, just beat that person up. But now, you got to all sit there through cutscenes when Raiden goes back in time.
Yeah.
What? I didn't want to watch a film.
Yeah.
I wanted to play a computer game.
Yeah, and if I do want to watch a film, I'll watch a much better film than like the cutscene in a computer game.
I don't know. Mortal Kombat's pretty good. Leo, The Independent. You know you've been dating. You've been on the dating apps too much. When Plenty of Fish isn't a website, it's something you've had to say to a doctor.
So can you really be addicted to dating apps? This article says, few things can compete with the feeling of validation you receive when you discover somebody you're attracted to is also attracted to you. That's when you swipe, is it to the right? And then you match, and then you get the thing, you matched. And that gives you a dopamine hit. But then people are addicted to that dopamine hit instead of actually meeting the person, starting a family, and having kids. But this is really a sort of press release for a new dating app called Matter, which is for people with neurodivergence. And so on Matter, users can share details about any neurodiverse conditions they may have on their profiles. They're also given the chance to take breaks and let their matches know they'll be doing so, blah, blah, blah. So basically, if you want to really just seal that vagina shut before you've even met the person, you can say, oh, I'm good, because everybody's got ADHD or whatever, everybody's got something, you know what I mean? Yeah. But if you're going to be the sort of person who's all like, oh, I'm being diagnosed and this is what I use as an excuse for not being able to do anything in life, it's like, man, just...
I reckon I could clear up on that app, because like in the land of the blind, the ADHD is king.
Yeah, I'd have thought ADHD would be good for dating apps. You know, the short attention span, you're just, you can do all your matches.
Not good for relationships. Great at the swiping.
Yeah.
Do you reckon you could try and fit this last one in? Because it's kind of related, Jonathan, to the Metro. You can use AI to end relationships. Yeah, send a deep fake of you and a sister.
Yeah, deepfake is a good way to describe this. So I hate breakups, so I get ChatGPT to dump people for me. So this guy called James has essentially got ChatGPT to write a breakup note to the girl he was dating. And yeah, they've done it. I mean, you can get ChatGPT to write most things, really. It's not funny yet. I'll get there one day. But yeah, and a nice breakup note, why not? Why write it yourself?
I got ChatGPT to write a Moonpig card for Valentine's, and I have no idea what it said, but it worked. Hey, got some action.
Do they actually have that as a thing on Moonpig?
No, but they shouldn't they?
Yeah.
Those of us who don't care about relationships. I think we've invented something here. It's amazing. But sadly, the show is nearly over, so let's take another quick look at Tuesday's front pages. The Daily Telegraph: tech tycoon feared dead in family superyacht tragedy. The Daily Mail: Queen said Trump was very rude. The Times: millionaires in yacht tragedy. The Eye goes with crime suspects left on streets under one-in, one-out prison crowding plan. The Guardian: British tech boss among missing after superyacht sinks off Sicily. And finally, the Daily Star says, oh, baubles. And those are your front pages. That's all we've got time for. Thank you to my guests, Leo and Jonathan. We'll be back tomorrow at 11 p.m. with Cressida Wetton and Kerry Marks, and Paul Cox will be here doing all the work. And if you're watching at 5 a.m, stay tuned for breakfast, which is on the way next. Till the next one, have a good one.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, very good evening to you. Here's your latest GB News weather update brought to you by the Met Office. Plenty of showers as we go through tomorrow and some blustery, gusty winds too. But before then, there's a lot of cloud, there's a lot of rain because of a frontal system that's already made its way in from the west. And as we go through the next 12 hours or so, it's going to continue to push east and southeastwards, bringing quite a wet story across many parts of England and Wales for a time, with that rain feeding into the southeast as we go through the early hours of tomorrow morning. Behind it, there will be some clear skies around, but also some showery bursts, especially across parts of Scotland. Temperatures not dropping a huge amount. In fact, in the southeast, it is going to be another warm night, some places only falling to lows of around 17 or 18 Celsius. As we go through tomorrow morning, though, there will be some hefty rain across the far east of Scotland and the Northern Isles. Also, plenty of showers feeding into western parts of Scotland. In between, something a little bit dry and brighter for some, but also more showers across Northern Ireland, some parts of northern, northwestern England, and in fact down the western side of England and Wales, there'll be some showers feeding in. Something a little bit drier and sunnier for more central eastern parts of England, although in the far southeast, that front will be lingering here for a time, so a grey, damp start to the day for some before that front clears away by the afternoon. Behind it, for many, it is going to be a showery day, and some of those showers will be heavy, and there are some gusty, blustery winds to watch out for too, especially in the northwest, making it feel a little bit cooler for some, but there will also be some sunny spells, and in the east-southeast, in the sunshine, feeling quite warm with temperatures in the low to mid-20s. Wednesday gets off to a fine start for many of us, but some very wet and windy weather is going to feed in from the northwest as we go through the day, particularly affecting Scotland and perhaps Northern Ireland too. Now, the rain is going to be quite heavy and will last as we go into Thursday, and it's all due to the remnants of what was Hurricane Ernesto, the other side of the Atlantic. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
we could be calling you with the news that you've won our latest Great British giveaway, an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash.
Hi, I'm John from sunny North Yorkshire, and I've just won £20,000 in the GB News Great British giveaway. It didn't cost much to enter, but of course if you're not in, you can't win. And here I am, having won £20,000, and that's tax-free, so I'm rather pleased I did it.
For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text CASH to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2, or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m.